I think the biggest problems right now are that the hype is leading businesses to adopt AI in a frenzy and to assume the AI can do more than it can actually do. We think that not enough people in business really know enough about AI. They know something usually, but not enough to really invest carefully in it. And so what they end up doing is either A, losing money, or B, overhyping and causing problems for the general public because they've invested in this stuff.
Welcome to Socially Conscious AI, where we showcase innovative AI applications for social good and interview the experts and thought leaders shaping the future of AI with a focus on ethical and inclusive practices. I'm Valencio Cardoso, and I'm here with my co-host, Roman Bercot. Roman, how's it going?
It is going great, Val. Today, we're thrilled to welcome Dr. Kevin LaGrandeur. Kevin's a renowned figure in AI ethics, serving as Director of Research for Global AI Ethics Institute. With a rich academic background as Professor Emeritus at NYIT and a Fellow of the Institute for Ethics and Emerging Technology, Kevin specializes in technology, culture, and ethics. He's a co-founder of the New York Post-Human Research Group and an advisory board member of the Lifeboat Foundation. Kevin is also deeply involved in academic publishing, sitting on the founding editorial boards of journals like AI and Ethics and the Journal of Posthumanism. He's authored over 50 articles and media productions, along with 2 impactful books, Artificial Slaves and Surviving the Machine Age. The latter co-authored with sociologist James Hughes, exploring AI's impact on the future of jobs. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thanks for joining us, Kevin. I feel like you have such a rich background. And so I'd like to start off by hearing a little bit of your perspective on your journey and what specifically got you interested in the ethics of AI and how you ended up working in this area.
So I have kind of an eclectic background. Before the show, we were talking about a lot of things I did. I've sort of had many lives. I was pre-med when I started. From the time I was in high school through the early part of college, I was pre-med. I was a science major. And then for various reasons, I switched to liberal arts and I majored in English and I had a double major, second degree in economics. So I had a little social science, a little liberal arts and a little science. And then, I was caught between a couple different things to do for grad school. I ultimately was offered more money to go to English grad school literature. And where I went, UC Irvine, had a strong focus on philosophy. So I then got a background in philosophy. So with philosophy, economics, English, and science, you can sort of see where my future went. I did a lot of science and literature early on, and then added science and technology about 25 years ago. And nobody was doing that back then. So I had a lot of trouble with my department saying, what the heck are you doing? You're splitting your time. Now what I did was I was a multidisciplinary in my focus, which was unusual in the 90s, but now it's pretty common. In fact, it's more favored. So I guess I was just a little too early to adopt all that. So the ethics focus comes from my philosophy background and my curiosity about those things. And the technology is based in my science interests. And then the book, Surviving the Machine Age, focuses on technology and economics, which was another one of my specialties. So that's why I'm kind of all over the place, because I've got a lot of interests and I sort of try to do something with those interests. My big focus is just trying to be helpful. That's what I hope to see on my gravestone. Well, I won't see it, but other people will. He was helpful. And so I've tried to push my writing and my publishing into the public realm as well. So I've published in some newspapers like USA Today, UPI, news service, and even the stuff I publish for academics, I try to make it so it's easy to read and easily applicable for business or for people that are just interested. Like my most recent article is called "The Consequences of AI Hype," and it's short and it's written in a journalistic style. So I was hoping that people would read it beyond a couple of other professors.
I heard a couple things in there. You're trying to be helpful and you're trying to make things accessible. And at the moment, all these three dynamics of economics, technology, philosophy are all kind of converging. And today you're working as your focus at the moment is director of research at the Global AI Ethics Institute. Do you mind just highlighting some of the key moments that led you to your role at this institute?
Well, I was doing AI and ethics a decade ago, and nobody really cared. And then all of a sudden, ChatGPT came out about what, a year and a half ago, and the whole the whole subject of AI just exploded. Before it was kind of a background thing, and then I thought, well, I just quit my job at my school and moved away, and I was involved with different groups on AI and ethics. And all of a sudden I thought it would be important maybe for people at large in society in general, if I stuck around and focused on that for as long as I thought I could be helpful. So the short answer is I've been doing this for a while because I have just an interest in it. And then all of a sudden it became important recently. So I've sort of ramped up my efforts. And the Institute for Ethics and Emerging Technology is a think tank I joined probably 6-7 years ago. James Hughes, my co-author of Surviving the Machine Age, is a sociologist, and he's the head of that organization. So that was just something I did. And he and I just talked about writing a book together, and that's what happened. And then other people approached me. The head of, at the time, 2 years ago, of the Global AI Ethics Institute, which is a startup, approached me. He had seen my stuff on LinkedIn and said, join us. And I said, okay. And then they asked me to be head of research because I'm an academic. I've published a lot. I've been on editorial boards for books and for journals. So I know what I'm doing when it comes to research projects. And I'm the only one really, I guess, in the organization who does. Most of those people are business people or academics who have full-time jobs doing other things. And the president, for instance, Aso Momcilovic, who's Croatian, he's an HR consultant with a graduate degree in psychology. And so anyway, they just asked me to do this. So I'm giving it a shot.
How do you feel like our understanding of AI ethics is like kind of changed over time? And where do you see it evolving as we move forward?
Well, I mean, the people who specialize in AI ethics pretty much codified what should be considered in that arena. Before ChatGPT came out, there are basically 9 precepts for making responsible AI. You know, like for instance, the alignment is one, alignment with human values. Data privacy is another. And, you know, avoiding misinformation, constructing AI so it can somehow filter out disinformation and misinformation. Those things are all sort of were on the horizon, but they were still being formulated. And all of a sudden ChatGPT came on the scene and caused a lot of disruption. So I think where it's going is a good place. I was really worried a year ago because governments weren't doing anything to regulate this stuff. But now they are. They caught up. There's still a long way to go in the United States. But the EU has done a great job with their AI Act to update standards for ethical development of AI and ethical use of AI. So as a European once said to me, the United States is good at inventing technology. The Chinese are good at stealing it. And the Europeans are really good at regulating it. So they're ahead of the game. But the AI Act, the stuff they've come up with pretty much aligns with the 9 precepts that were formulated. So the people that worked on those, by the way, there's a good resource for the development of those guidelines, ethical guidelines at Harvard's Berkman Klein Institute. If you go to berkmanklein.org, I think it is, or .edu, or just do a Google search for it, they have a study they did, which is really useful, where they asked 100 different companies, academics, and institutions to submit what they considered the best white papers on AI ethics. And then the Berkman Klein Institute narrowed that down to about 36 different white papers that were voted the most useful. And they took from those the 9 precepts that came up the most often. And they made a really good graphic on the whole thing. So if you want to see something really good, go to the Berkman Klein Institute and you'll see a really good sort of map for the development of AI ethics. So anyway, I'm more encouraged now than I was a year ago. If you look at my articles, they're pretty negative. I'm like Cassandra predicting all this doom and gloom, but it's because nobody was doing anything to try to control AI. I still think AI is out of hand in 2 ways. I think it's way overhyped now. And every business in the world seems to be saying, we have AI too. We have this app that does blah, 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 in conjunction with our stuff. And what they're talking about half the time is not AI. It's just an algorithm. So basically our corporations now are cheating by saying, this is AI, and it's not. Or if they do have AI, they claim it can do a whole lot more than it can really do. And then so they mislead the public, and the public doesn't get what they pay for. And one of the things I talked about in that essay, The Consequences of AI Hype, was Tesla. I mean, their autopilot is not an autopilot, and they shouldn't have called it that, but Elon Musk insisted on that name. It implies that like an airplane autopilot, it can do everything, and you can just sit there and watch the dials. But it's not that good. And there have been a lot of deaths, or not a lot, but a fair number of deaths that have resulted from people overestimating the capabilities of this autopilot. What some people turn it on and then go to sleep, and then they get killed. Or they turn it on and, play a card game or play a video game or whatever. They don't pay attention to the driving. But that's because of the hype. And that's, Musk and Tesla got sued and for a large amount of money. And so now they're changing that.
So I imagine, Kevin, in your work that you've considered the way that AI hype influences decision-making. Can you talk about that? How do you think the AI hype is playing into people's decisions to do things like sleep while they should be driving?
Yeah. Well, I think the effect is actually, there's more of an effect on business people than there are on the general public. I think the biggest problems right now are that the hype is leading businesses to adopt AI in a frenzy and to assume the AI can do more than it can actually do. A friend and I, a guy who's a management consultant and has been doing it for 40 years, and I are writing a short document now that's a guide for private equity in the adoption of AI or the investing in AI, because we think that not enough people in business really know enough about AI. They know something usually, but not enough to really maybe invest carefully in it. And so what they end up doing is either A, losing money, or B, overhyping or believing the hype and causing problems for the general public because they've invested in this stuff. And the general public pays the price, but so do they. So our message to them is, if you don't want to lose money, you're going to have to learn the basics of AI ethics, and we tell them, delineate the basics. And then you got to be careful to vet these AI products more carefully than people are doing.
Mhm.
I think the general public is still relatively safe. I think there are a lot of potential problems. I mean, I'm not the only one saying that. There are tons of scientists publishing these letters. I think one just came out 2 weeks ago. A bunch of scientists published a letter, open letter, that AI was dangerous and wasn't being taken seriously. So, I mean, I'm optimistic cautiously, but right now it's the Wild West out there. And I'm one of the people who's trying to play sheriff and say, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
let's slow down and talk about this a little bit, because in America, especially, AI has become a frenzy,
Mm-hmm.
just a frenzy. Everybody's saying, I got to have AI, and they're producing all this stuff.
It just occurred to me that AI hype can probably go in both directions. Like I was thinking along the lines of hype around, oh, it's amazing, it's great, it's better than it actually is. But when I was listening to you, I thought, is there hype on the negative side too? Are people unnecessarily worried about where AI is going?
Well, tech executives would say that. The Silicon Valley billionaires certainly think, that people are trying to slow them down too much. But there are certain executives in Silicon Valley who believe that the whole thing should be slowed down a little too, including Sam Altman has said that. So mainly people who are the owners of AI corporations complain that there's too much complaining about AI and saying that we're not that far into it yet. And people are getting a little hysterical. That may be, but I'd rather err on the side of being a little hysterical and slowing things down rather than blowing ourselves up somehow because we put AI in charge of too many things. There are two things to mention here that I've been talking about for years. Martin Heidegger, way back in the early 1950s, gave a talk that was then published called A Question Concerning Technology, where he worried about people embracing technology too much so that everything was a standing reserve for technology and it would actually be the central focus of things. And I think he's right. And then before him, in the late 40s, Norbert Wiener, who's one of the fathers of computing, he helped invent guided missiles in World War II. And he was this computer genius like Alan Turing. And he wrote a couple books right after the war, and both of them were cautionary books. The first was called The Human Use of Human Beings, which is an interesting title considering the whole book was about intelligent technology. But he warned back then in the late 40s, early 50s, that if we allowed AI, or what he called intelligent technology, to make too many decisions for us, we'd end up being slaves to that technology. And he also said we'd probably also do ourselves a lot of harm because intelligent technology doesn't always do what you think it's going to do. And I think all that's been borne out by recent AI developments. I mean, look at generative AI.
Mhm.
It's more or less a black box. Nobody really knows how it works exactly.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just a large language model that basically predicts the next word that needs to be used. And in the process, a really good LLM can sound like a human, even though it has no context and no background on whatever it's talking about.
Mhm.
But people think it's really intelligent, and then it glitches and tells you a whole bunch of lies. So I don't want that being put in charge of our nuclear missiles,
Sure.
for instance.
Can we go back just a little bit? You mentioned a phrase that I've been hearing a lot, which is the ChatGPT moment. So as somebody who's been in AI for a while, you'll recognize that AI chatbots aren't particularly new. They've been around for a while. There have been various attempts to launch them and some very embarrassing failures. Do you have thoughts on why this ChatGPT moment was so different, so culturally impactful?
Well, because it frankly was rolled out, I think, too early to the general public. It should have been beta tested more internally. But I think because it was the first AI to be put out in front of the general public in a massive way, and it was very impressive. It still is. I mean, I just criticize it because it has problems, right? Like every AI. It's good at doing certain things. It's really good at sounding cogent, really good at constructing sentences, which is what it's made to do. Even if the sentences are total garbage, they still sound good. And, there have been other AIs before this that, in fact, write newspaper articles. Um, it's AP News. I'm trying to remember if that's one. AP News for the last decade has been using AI to write sports stories and financial stories because most of it's numbers, right? So when you report a football game, you talk about scores and how many yards the quarterback threw for and how many touchdowns he threw, et cetera. So it's really easy to have an AI write those stories. So anyway, but nobody knew about these things. Now ChatGPT was high publicity and much better than those old AIs. I have friends who call me and criticize me for criticizing AI because they say, wow, this stuff it's fantastic. One friend of mine who's a psychotherapist is thinking of adopting an AI that can therapize people and that kind of thing. So I think it was very impressive and people were excited about it. I mean, a lot of people were excited about it. And especially people who don't know AI much were excited about it. So somebody like me has to say, well, now, wait a minute. There's some problems here. You can't rely on this too much. So that's my major message. Let's be careful not to rely on this stuff too much and, to work on it carefully and especially to beta test it enough in terms of ethics. If we put something out there that starts killing people because we didn't look close enough at it, that's not a good thing.
So Kevin, I think you touched on some of that ChatGPT is actually pretty impressive, right? But at the same time, I think it is super important, right, to be able to counterbalance the conversation, right? And us in tech or people in tech just tend to think about the happy path, right? Sometimes it's important to take a step back and see, okay, what are the possible problems that could happen, right, by the things that we're creating? But I'd like to focus a little bit on that positive part, right? And leveraging AI for good. And you touched on this a little bit, but besides some of the negative stuff, can you give us some examples of how AI is being used to make things better?
Well, okay. So yeah, I, like I said, I'm more prone to being a doomsayer, but I also talk about the good side. Here's my positive spin. AI, if it's used right, could do a lot of good for humankind. I mean, it's already making headway in big ways in medicine. For instance, it's much better at interpreting imaging like X-rays or MRIs than human doctors, right? So it can detect tumors that physicians can't really see. So that's a really good thing. Also, certain AIs can virtually fold proteins so that it's much quicker now to search for new drugs to help fight certain diseases. So that's great stuff. Also, I talk about a lot when I travel and talk, I talk about medical inroads being made with AI controlled brain pacemakers that are inserted into people with Parkinson's or with epilepsy. Right now, they have these huge things coming out of their heads, and it has to be it's sort of like a pacemaker, or in that it interferes with the signal that's going on in the head to stop, say, an epileptic seizure. Great. The problem is it has to be operated manually by the person who's epileptic, or it's on a timer, which is wasteful because then you may get an impulse being sent through when a person's not having an epileptic seizure. So they've been putting AI into these prototypes, and it's been working really well with a few glitches. So that's some good stuff. And also, I think self-driving cars in the future are going to be the thing. I think that they'll work very well once we also start installing smart roads that are electrified. And they're installing one right now in Indiana as a test. They're making a patch of highway electrified and digital so that as you drive, your car gets recharged if you have an electric vehicle. Imagine what could happen here. That would mean you could have a smaller battery, which would make the car cheaper and easier to buy. And your car would be able to communicate through the road. Or even if we had good Wi-Fi, car communications. And that way, if you had a car on autopilot, it could communicate with other cars. And the whole traffic system would be like a railroad where nobody interferes with anybody else. Of course, humans would have to give up their control of their cars and that's hard for a lot of people. Nobody could speed. Nobody could drive like crazy. And eventually we'd have a very safe highway. So that's another good thing. There's a guy named Rodney Brooks, who's an MIT computer scientist, started a side business. I think it's called Boston Dynamics, maybe. But he built this robot, humanoid, that would work on assembly lines next to humans. And this is about maybe 10 years ago. And then he started marketing it, and it was a good price. But corporations, it's for small businesses. They just didn't go for it. But anyway, one of the key things that it had was sensors so that if its arms touched a human being, it would stop. And if a human being touched it, it would stop. So he had all kinds of sensors built in because he didn't want the robot swinging its arms around and knocking somebody unconscious at the assembly line. So, I mean, I think this is the upside. I think most scientists try hard to be ethical and to build things right, but you can't think of everything. A lot of my students were mostly engineers and computer science students, and they tend to get excited about being able to do something, and they don't think as much about, should I do that thing, right? Think about Oppenheimer and the nuclear bomb. They were hurrying to make it. They were taken up with, can I do this? And they didn't think about should, because that was the government's job. So that's the kind of stuff I worry about. I was going to say, the one last thing I would talk about is the effects of AI on jobs. That's what the second book with James Hughes is about, Surviving the Machine Age. It's about intelligent technology's effect on jobs. And I think it's a two-way street. It's sort of a double-edged sword. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. AI can be very helpful and do jobs in some cases better than humans, like reading images. But does that put humans out of work? Well, I think it depends. If done right, the way AI should be used is as a cobot, a coworker to help out somebody at their job. Instead of replacing an accountant with a fancy type of Quicken software, you have the Quicken software do all the crummy, boring parts of the accountant's job and leave the accountant more time to deal with clients and to do what's called hand-holding and, explaining IRS codes to them and that kind of thing. Same thing with you guys, you're in design, right, Valencio? So if you have a really good AI design product like DALL-E, which could be really good, you tell it to make something for you, but you're the one doing the idea making. And also you have to shape whatever DALL-E comes up with, but it can cut your time in half for making a design. I use ChatGPT just to try it out to do some writing for me. And it was really good at coming up with, I had the initial idea, but I would tell it to write me an outline. or an initial draft of something. And it was really good at coming up with the initial draft, but I had to shape it after that. But it saved me about an hour and a half. I wrote my business plan that way. It came out, I said, give me a 1-page business plan on, what I do. And it took all of 2 seconds. And then I read through it and I thought, well, this is a good start. And then I shaped it. But that shaping took about an hour. The whole thing would have taken me about 2.5. So it cut my work time in half and I could do something else, another project. So I think that's the way AI can be useful. And I think, if we use it that way, not to put people out of jobs, but to make their jobs easier and allow their productivity to expand into other areas, I think that's going to be the success story.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, you touched on, the people behind making these products, right? You touched on how these products are impacting us in positive ways, saving time. And especially for me as a designer, AI is taking some of the, I guess you can say, the executional or the production work out of my hands. It's allowing me to be more strategic and working a little bit more with my cross-functional partners. But you mentioned earlier about companies, right? And I think that's where I want to focus a little bit is, can you tell me some areas where, like, how can we make sure that companies use AI in ways that are good for people?
Well, that comes back to government regulation. I know everybody hates, especially, conservative end of the political spectrum, hate the notion of regulation. But if we didn't have regulations, we wouldn't have a planet left by now. Everything would be polluted. And so the regulations against pollution, for instance, have saved us from ourselves. And so it's an unfortunate fact that capitalism is not a moral system. It's not an immoral system. It's a system, it's a machine meant to make money. And so we're the ones that have to, inject the morality into capitalism. Because if we just followed laissez-faire capitalistic tendencies, things would not go well. I know that people would point to Adam Smith and say, yeah, but the original idea is there's this invisible hand that moves everything to equilibrium. And so capitalism takes care of itself, but it doesn't. In actual practice, we have to have some regulation or capitalism becomes this monster machine that crushes everything. So to answer your question, governments have to step in and regulate to some extent. It's like AI is like nuclear weapons. It's something that nuclear energy can be very helpful. Nuclear weapons are not. Same thing with AI. It can be very helpful, but unregulated, it could not be. It's a two-way street. And I think we're right on the fence right now. We're about to cross over into new territory. And I think we need to be careful.
As someone who has followed AI really throughout your career in various ways, and especially recently, I'm just curious if you have areas that are emerging in AI that you're excited about.
Let's see. Well, I guess, like to follow on what I was talking about jobs, I think AI could really create some really new, interesting jobs.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about job creation is, and this comes from economic theory, Joseph Schumpeter identified a particular trend a long time ago, about 50, 60 years ago. He recognized that in all the previous industrial revolutions, it took about a generation, about 25 years before the new technology started creating new jobs. But once it did, it created many more jobs than it had killed. He called the concept creative destruction, which you've probably heard about. But creative destruction, I think, is going to happen with AI. I think we're in the 25-year phase right now where it's killing jobs to some extent. But I guarantee, I'm going to stick my neck out and guarantee that 20 years from now, there's going to be way more jobs than there are now, and they're going to involve AI. And plus, people will be more educated about AI. They'll learn about it in high school at the latest. And you'll have digital natives who are AI natives who come up with these great ideas. for how to use AI. So I think if we manage to get through this next 20 years without blowing something up, I think the job world is going to be great. And I think the jobs will be more interesting, possibly less work. But you know, what happens when when we got computers at work and we could do our writing faster, did that mean we got to go home and mow our lawn? No, it meant the boss handed us more work. So it may not cut our work. Everybody's saying that, you know, we're going to have 20-hour work weeks and stuff like that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the big promises of AI are going to be in things like transportation, medicine. That stuff's already happening. And certain aspects of technology, for instance, we already have AI writing computer code.
Mm-hmm.
Once AI can code itself and code other computers or other AI, that's a really dangerous territory because it becomes more of a black box. But it could also speed up the process of exploring technology because you can have coding done really quick. By the way, I think AI programmers in general, is one of the jobs that's going to be on the chopping block within the next 5 years, because I think AI is going to become better and better at coding. And so human beings won't be needed.
Kevin, this has been incredible, right? And we've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything you want to kind of address before we wrap up?
Not really. I think AI holds a lot of promise, but we need to be careful. That's my life in a nutshell right now.
What's your next book?
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on this because writing another academic book won't get me anything. You know, I won't get promoted. I won't get a pay raise because I'm not working for a university anymore. So, you know, maybe I might do something along the lines of how AI ethics can help business, and the basics of AI ethics, kind of an expansion of the little piece I'm writing with a friend. That piece is only 6.5 pages long and it has pictures. Or I might write a novel. I might just check out because I got to tell you, you know, I'm an AI consultant, right? AI ethics consultant. But if you look on LinkedIn, there are all these new graduates who had 2 weeks certification course in AI ethics, and they're all saying they're an AI ethicist. So I'm now a little guy waving my sign in the air saying, I'm an AI ethicist, but people don't, you know, they can't see me. And so I'm not sure that in this frenzy, I'm just not going to be drowned out by people who are, you know, like 21 and fresh out of college and say they're AI ethicists on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And I think the interesting thing there is there's two things that I'm thinking at the top of my head. One is the cream rises to the top. You're a fascinating person. I'm sure people are going to be reaching out to you in droves as this thing gets mainstream. And then the other thing is, I think it's really important for companies to think about credibility when it comes to AI and the people shaping these policies, because it's important work and you can't just hand that off to somebody coming right out of college. There's a lot of wisdom through your experiences, and like you've seen time continuum, right? So,
well, we'll see. Thanks. Yeah. So I'm still deciding on my next book, but in the meantime, I'm writing articles. I have 3 more coming out. One of them's not on anything to do with AI, but the other 2, one's sort of philosophical and uses literature as examples because I have a literary background. And the other one is about AI ethics in a post-human world. And that's a whole nother topic. If you guys know what post-humanism is about, there are 2 post-humanisms, right? One is a philosophical concept that's a continuation of postmodernism, but with a technological twist. And the other one, the post-human, is the endpoint of transhumanism, where we implant ourselves with all kinds of technology and we end up as another species. So I've been talking about that concept for the last 10 or 15 years as well.
Very, very interesting. We'll probably have to have you back on and talk about that. spend a,
Definitely.
we can spend the whole day talking to you.
For sure.
But Kevin, thank you so much. This has been a fascinating conversation.
My pleasure.
Where is the best place for people to find you online or connect with you to continue this discussion?
To continue the discussion, probably LinkedIn. I have my stuff at a repository, a website called academia.edu. It's a place where a lot of people from academia, like scientists and so forth, just post all of their work. So if people want to find my stuff, they can go look there. But if they want to actually say something to me, LinkedIn is probably best. They can get to me through, in LinkedIn, through the Global AI Ethics Institute, or just I'm on there and I look at it pretty much every day.
I really enjoyed this a lot. Thank you. And we'll definitely have you back for more of these conversations. I don't know if we'll expand our remit beyond AI, but transhumanism, posthumanism, all that. Oh man, get me switched on. So. Well, that concludes another episode of Socially Conscious AI with our amazing guest, Dr. Kevin LaGrandeur. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And why not share the show with someone who could benefit from this conversation? For Valencio Cardoso, I'm Roman Bercot. Until next time, stay curious, stay conscious.